Hey there. This video is going to go over the top 5 mistakes that you need to avoid when making lead magnets. So let's get into it. The top 5 mistakes to avoid when creating these lead magnets. So before we get started, what are lead magnets? Why do they matter? And it's a very important question. So a lead magnet is typically a free piece of value that you exchange for their contact information. So if you've ever been on a forum that said, get my free report or get this masterclass or get this training in exchange for your name, email, phone number, website, that kind of stuff, that is an example of a lead magnet in action. This is very important because without lead magnets, without this process, we wouldn't really be able to capture leads. Wouldn't even make sense if someone said, no one's going to email you and say, here's my email address and my contact information. I thought you should have it, right? But when we have a lead magnet, when we have a form where we can exchange like something like what I do is my 12 B2B trainings in exchange for their name, email, phone number, website, and monthly revenue. That makes sense. That is where leads come from. That is how leads are generated versus just having nothing at all. Lead magnets are also very important because or at least they should be very valuable, and they should demonstrate your knowledge, your expertise, and make people trust you a lot because you've given them some value in advance. Very, very important part of the lead magnets. And final piece is lead magnets are going to act as basically the bridge between the top of funnel and the middle of the funnel. On the top of funnel, you have your traffic, you have your paid ads, you have content on the different platforms, you have cold outreach, you have partnerships. In the bottom of the funnel, you have a bunch of conversion tools and conversion mechanisms like your webinars, your live workshops, your newsletters, your community, and that kind of stuff. So without the lead magnets to bridge the gap, basically, we just have a bunch of traffic that would just be going nowhere. That's very, very important to understand. But when we have the lead magnet, we can run our paid ads to a landing page like this one. We can get their email, their contact, add them to our email marketing software, and then they'll be in our email flows. They'll see our thank you page. They'll keep going down the funnel to wherever we want to push them, maybe a newsletter with a community and an appointment setter. And then we can use them to determine who's qualified and who's not. And that's basically lead generation summarized. Every piece of this is very important, lead magnets included. So that is where the lead magnets are in the funnel, and that is why we need to avoid the mistakes in this video, because if we don't, we're just basically going to get bottled up in the middle of the funnel, and our entire business is going to suffer because we're not going to be getting as much value as we should from the traffic we're driving, just because it's all going to get stuck right here. Very important thing to understand. So if you don't know who I am, because I've been rambling for maybe 3.5 minutes so far, my name is Matthew Larson and I run 2 agency programs. The first is called 10K per month, which, as the name suggests, helps you build an agency to 10K per month revenue. And the other one is called 1000X leads, which is to take your agency to the next level. So this is valuable, I'd say, and relevant because I work with over 315 agency owners on a monthly basis right now. So this is the stuff that's actually working right now in 2024. And you can get my free trainings, and the link is in the bio if you want to do that. So the first mistake that people make when they're doing their lead magnets is they make them super basic and half-ass, and it's just so bad. People can't read your mind, and if your lead magnet is basic and bad and half-ass, they're going to assume that you are basic and bad and half-ass too. So although the lead magnets, like this one, is typically free in terms of monetary costs, you don't need to pay for it. You still need to take the time to download it. You still need to give something, which is your contact information, and you still need to go through it and see what it's all about. And it's very insulting when someone takes the time to do this, and it is terrible. When you're making your lead magnet this bad, which a lot of people do, it's actually worse than having no lead magnet at all, because it's not just they're unsure about you or, maybe you're good, maybe you're not. They know for sure at this point that you don't know what you're talking about, that you give half-ass effort, and you're basically not worth talking to. A lot of people are in this situation right now and they just don't know it. So if you're watching this video and you think that might be a possibility for you, you know your lead magnets are just a couple pages of crap, maybe go back and try and fix it. Number 2 is their lead magnets are all theory and no action, and the theory is very important, of course, but theory without action is just kind of a waste of time. So when you focus solely on the theory without any examples or frameworks or anything like that, it's very easy for people to just dismiss it. Like, there's no way this works. It's just a bunch of some stuff that Matt made up because there's no, I've never seen this before. I don't see it. I don't know how this works. But if you have 10 examples, 20 examples, you have a bunch of frameworks like this one where they can see that and try it for themselves, that is going to convince them that it works more than, 200 pages of theory ever will. So for each section that you have in your lead magnet that is focused on theory, try to add a few examples and stack them up to the point where it's just undeniable that this stuff works. And that's the point you want to get to with your lead magnet. I like to think of, the middle of the funnel part of this as kind of the phase where proving that you know what you're talking about phase. And without examples of how that works in the real world, this is going to have a hard time proving that you know what you're talking about. Very, very important stuff. The next is talking too much about yourself, and a lot of lead magnets are basically indistinguishable from sales letters. They just talk about how great the person is, how many speaking events they've done, how many ClickFunnels awards they have, and they provide no value, and that's kind of defeats the entire purpose here, because remember, we're trying to do two things with our lead magnet. We're trying to get their contact information. So in this case, they would have done that. But we're also trying to get them to trust us and build a lot of credibility and try to get them a few quick wins. When you just talk about yourself for 90% of it or even 100% of it, you do number 1, but you don't do number 2. So if you're going to talk about yourself, and you should, try to follow the 70-30 split where you're talking about them and the content and their business for 70% of it and keep the talking to yourself to 30% or less. I think that's a great split to have because no doubt you have to be able to sell yourself and sell your service or you're not going to make any money. But when doing that 100% of the time is just tone deaf and ineffective. And trust me, I've done that before, so I would know that. And so has everybody else. It's just everybody starts talking about themselves over time, refine it, and then follow this 70-30 split, and you're going to have a lot better results. Number 4 is the lead magnets lack parts or organization. They're just jumbled together with no clear sequence of events, if you want to think of it that way. So we want to build our lead magnets in a way that the average human brain can comprehend and understand. If we don't do that, it's just going to it's going to take so much more mental bandwidth for the person to consume it, and they're just going to be a lot less likely to do so. So this is a very easy one where we can take just 5-10 minutes even at the start or even at the end of creating our lead magnet to organize it into clear steps or parts. Part 1 of a cold email lead magnet, the setup. Part 2, getting the script. Part 3, getting the list. Part 4, getting the offer. Part 5, appointment setting. That's probably out of order if you're doing it in sequence of events, but I just wanted to show you what I mean by that. The next one is the lead magnets are too text heavy. So there's nothing worse than a massive wall of text. No one's going to be reading that, trust me. And a lot of people, although it's the type of people who say this are typically very annoying in my opinion. Some people are really visual learners and they need graphics, they need the text, they need the images, they need the frameworks. Imagine trying to explain this funnel just with text instead of seeing it and how it all flows together. No matter how good you are at explaining it, it's just very difficult to do so. So for every main idea in your lead magnet, you should absolutely have a graphic or framework, and just trying to make them in Miro board and getting better and better over time is the best way to do that. So to summarize here, The top 5 mistakes that I see in these 315 agency owners that I work with on a monthly basis. The lead magnet's too basic or half-ass. It's only focused on theory and no action. They're talking about themselves way too much when they should, but not 100% of the entire lead magnet. They lack the parts and the organization to make it easy to consume, and it's just too text heavy. And these are 5 big mistakes that if you avoid, you're going to do, your lead magnets are going to be 2, 3, 4, or 5 times as good. So in summary, making great lead magnets is just as much about avoiding mistakes as it is about just being great. Almost all of the lead magnet mistakes are easily correctable. Even if you have a current lead magnet and all of these things are true for you, it doesn't take that long to just fix them. And that's good news in this case. And lead magnets are going to bridge the gap between the top of the funnel and the bottom of funnel. And if you don't have good lead magnets, you're just going to have the bottleneck here. If you have 100 viewers, for example, and normally maybe 10 to 20% or 10 to 20 of them would have made it down here, you're going to have like 2, 3, 4, 5 people make it down here where they actually book a call. So it's very, very, very important to make your lead magnets good for all of the reasons above. And if you avoid these 5 mistakes, you are going to be most of the way there, and that's a good thing. So if this video was helpful, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.